Welcome to the Daily Plunge. We are in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 24, verses 32 through 44. Jesus says to his disciples, well, look at the fig tree. Learn the lesson from the fig tree. When it puts out its branches and leaves in the spring, well, you know that, winter's come to an end, spring is here, and summer's on its way, and you take hope from that. Well, so too, you should look at what's going on in the world. If you understood this in the natural world, you should understand this in the spiritual world and take hope. And that when all these catastrophes are happening in the world, don't read them as a dire condemnation, but instead these are signs that the wickedness and brokenness and injustice of this world is going to be coming to an end, and God's kingdom is going to be ushered in. We should be looking forward to the spring, the advent of God, right? And he says, all the elements and the structures of this world that we think are indestructible, all those things that we think are rock solid are going to fade away. But the thing that will not fade away, that will not pass away, is the words of Jesus. And why? Well, when you die on the cross and are raised from the dead, you are beyond destruction. And Jesus has the last word on everything, as we're told over and over again throughout the New Testament. And so, he goes on to say about that day or hour, no one knows. Not the angels, not the Son of Man, the Son of God. And so if Jesus himself doesn't know, why do we Christians think we can figure this out? It is above our pay grade. We are not meant to know this from God. What we are meant to do is to trust God, to have faith in him through all this time. And so he goes on to say, in the days of Noah, people were marrying and they were going about their work and they were getting married right up until the time that Noah and his family went into the ark and closed the door. And these people were unaware of the catastrophe of their sin. They were unconcerned about the consequences of their sin. And it's the same today. We can look around and we see that the world in many ways is just the same. And when the Son of Man comes, people are going to be oblivious to it, just as they were with Noah. And then he goes on in verse 40, and he talks about two men out in the field, and one will be taken, two women grinding flour, and one will be taken. And a lot of people get excited, and they say, oh, the rapture. The rapture does not appear anywhere in the Bible. The word doesn't, and really the concept, except you might say, well, here and in Luke. But in Luke, in chapter 17, verse 37, Jesus says that they are taken to the place of the vulture. That's death. That is in destruction. That's not heaven. And so that's not what he's talking about. So, we need to have faith in Jesus Christ. He says, therefore, keep watch. And what does it mean to keep watch? Is to cling to Jesus, not to have faith in our faith, not to have faith in our religion. Now, there's not going to be any assurance that comes from our effort. We must trust in Jesus alone. And he says, understand this, if the owner of the house had known at what time of night the thief was going to come, he would have stayed awake and prepared for him. If the servant knew what time the master was going to come back, he wouldn't have slacked off. He would have stayed at his task. And so, we are to keep our eyes on Jesus, right? And, what does it matter if you knew what time it was anyways? What would you do differently? You're not going to be able to stave the end of time off. What you need to focus on is Jesus. Well, hey, friends, take time to like, share, and subscribe to make sure that you see these videos and your friends can see these videos and more people can see these videos. Have a blessed day.